we've done the majority of the hard work already. In order to push this to the database, what we need to do is inject the Angular Fire database. But before going any further, we need to head back to our app-module.ts and also import the Angular Fire database module to use database interactions. So we can't go any further unless we import the database module. So that can be done by heading back up to our imports list, and from our imports list we can import from Angular Fire 2 /database the Angular Fire database module. And like I said, this allows us to use database functionality throughout our application. So once we've imported that, we can head to our imports inside of our root ng module and add this to the list. That means we can go back to our add shopping page. And inside of here, we can import from Angular Fire 2 /database. And this time it's a quite similar import, but it's not the same. This time it's the Angular Fire database. So be sure not to import the module again. It's actually just the Angular Fire database this time. After that, we can navigate back to our constructor and inject this here into the add shopping page. So we can do that by saying private database, and we can say that is of type Angular Fire database. Also, we can now access the database inside of our page. So let's make a reference to our database then. Let's call this the shopping item ref. And I'm going to add $1 to the end of this because this is technically going to be an observable. And the ref stands for reference. This will be a reference to our shopping item list inside of Firebase. And that will be of type Firebase list observable. So we need to import Firebase list observable once again. So we can import that from Angular Fire 2 /database. And we now need to tell TypeScript it's a Firebase list observable of something. We're essentially defining what type of list it is. And of course, that's going to be a list of shopping items. So we can say shopping item, and we can pass through to say that's a shopping item array. Awesome, we're nearly there. So what that means is inside of our constructor, we can define our shopping item reference to be equal to this.database.list, and the list will be shopping-list. And at this point in time, this might not make sense if you've never used Firebase before, but what we're essentially saying is if you think of the shopping list to be a table, even though it's definitely not a table, it's sort of more a repository or node where all of our data goes. So if we imagine it to look something like this, we have a shopping list, and then inside we have a variety of different pieces of information. So now we could have key 0, which contains particular key value pairs. For example, item name of Peter and item number of 1. And then if we continue to potentially key 1, which has similar information, this time it would be something like cheesecake, and it would have an item number of maybe 5. So a shopping list in this circumstance points at the node inside of Firebase. So what we can now do is inside of our add shopping item, instead of logging the results out to the console, we can now remove that. What we can say instead is this.shoppingItemReference.push, and in here we can push a particular value. So we could simply pass in this dot shopping item, and that would contain the current shopping item. But what I want to do is convert that number to a number instead of a string. So an easy way to do that is for us to just define the item ourselves. So we can say that the item name can be equal to the shopping item dot item name, and the item number can be equal to number, and we'll pass through the number of this dot shopping item dot item number. As you can see, this actually returns a number. So we can add ourselves a comment, and that comment is create a new object, and we can say this as an anonymous object, and convert item number to a number. After that, we want to push this to our Firebase database under the shopping-list node. So now that we've done that, we are super close to having our item inside of the database. Notice how little code there actually is to persist this on the server. It's simply one line, and the only thing that stops us is now our Firebase database rules. So I want you to head back over to the Firebase dashboard, and in the Firebase dashboard, if we select database, and we should have then a rules button, click the rules, and you can see that the default security rules require users to be authenticated. Now we're going to look at authentication later on, so for now we'll simply allow anybody to read and write from the database. This is obviously very bad in production, so please do not push something into production with these rules. It's really important that you realize that at the moment this is simply for testing and demonstration purposes only. In order to allow anybody to read or write, simply say read is equal to true and write is equal to true. Hit publish, and as you can see that our security rules are now defined as public. Anyone can read or write to the database. But we should now be able to head back over to our shopping list and add an item name such as pizza and a number of 1. Let's hit add item. You'll notice that we have this shopping list appeared inside of the data tab of our Firebase. If we select it, here is now the key. The key contains our item name and our item number. As you can see, the number has been converted to a number, like we requested. And also, you'll notice that this here is a randomly generated key. So it models exactly what we looked at before. So essentially we have a shopping list node, and inside we have a variety of different key value pairs, but where here we have 0 and 1, inside of Firebase we have a randomly generated key. So this has fulfilled the creation process inside of our application. We can now add items to our shopping list and also commit them to Firebase. Before going any further, let's also reset our shopping item, and that can be done by redefining our shopping item to simply be an empty object, and we can pass it once again as a shopping item. And the final thing to do is navigate the user back to the shopping list page. And that can be done by saying this.navcontrol.pop. And what pop does is take the user back 1 in the navigation stack. So at the moment, if we take a look at what our navigation stack looks like, you can see that we started off with the shopping list page. We navigated to the add shopping page. And if we pop the add shopping page from the nav stack, we're left with simply the shopping list page once again. So that's essentially what pop does with the nav controller. So in this lecture, we've looked at adding a shopping item to our Firebase database. We've also looked at resetting our item, as well as popping the user back to the shopping list page. Let's take a look at this in action. So here we have our shopping list. If I select the plus button and I add cheesecake with a number of 5 and I hit add item, the item has been added to our shopping list. As you can see, the item name of cheesecake and the number of 5. The user was navigated back to the home page, and if we select the plus button, you can see that the form has been reset and we don't have that previous state. In the next lecture, let's take a look at viewing this shopping list inside of our shopping list page.